Now we'd like to open up the phone to questions and answers. I know questions have already been submitted, and we're going to do our best to answer as many as we can in the time that we have left. And I'll now turn it back over to Brian and Kathy and let them take it away from there.
Thank you. This is Brian, and I've got two questions I'll address here. The first being, what are the minimum premiums for this program? Within the three segments, the investigative portion of this is a really, the one-man operations for investigators, minimum premiums, we're looking at $775. The alarm segment has a $1,500 minimum premium, and the security guard program has a $3,500 minimum premium. And the second question I have here is, what are the premiums based on? I probably should have touched on this in our program advantages. As far as I know, we are the only national program that is basing our premiums on billed hours for the security segment. And our idea there several years ago, this class has always been underwritten based on payroll. And security, obviously is a 24/7 operation. Several times you've got overtime pay, holiday pay, and so within our industry we're seeing that insureds are being directly penalized with additional premium because they're having to pay their guards overtime. So our idea was, let's take an hour worked is an hour of exposure, an hour billed, an hour of exposure, and that is our rating basis. And for the alarm classes of business, we use installation payroll for the installers, and then we'll use monitoring receipts for the monitoring companies. The investigation is also based on payroll.
Okay. I will address the question. There's a question here that asks, are renewal forms required each year? The answer to that question is yes. However, our renewal application has been streamlined. We've worked really hard to get it down to the minimum questions so that it's not a long process every year. So that is required. However, like I said, it is an easy process. Okay, let's see. Should we wait to submit an application until we receive loss runs for the applicant? No, that is not necessary. Definitely submit the application. We're well aware that it can be difficult to obtain loss runs from prior carriers on a very quick turnaround, and we definitely work to that fact. You can have the insured or the applicant. We will accept, a no loss letter, or that they have no reported claims within the past 4 years. We do recognize that it can be difficult to obtain those loss runs. However, obviously, the ultimate would be to get those loss runs submitted to us. But definitely do not wait to submit the application because we can provide a quote subject to. Let's see, Brian.
I've got one here. Is there any appetite for special event coverage such as trade shows? Absolutely. They're special events. The term in general is very broad. Really, the limitation there, really don't want to see, concerts, rap concerts, things of that nature. But anything, trade show, exhibitions, anything along those lines really aren't a problem. Second question here, the turnaround on the quote. As I mentioned, if we've got something that, say a new venture or something that needs to be quoted immediately, typically it's out of our office within 24 to 48 hours. Let me see. Addressing alarm companies, the question here is, if businesses only do installations and subcontract the monitoring, can the risk be considered? Absolutely. It's primarily what you see. We do see, as you can imagine, the monitoring business, 24 hours you have to have people. It could be very costly. So a lot of the smaller installation firms subcontract that work out to national monitoring centers. That's not a problem. We do request or like to see that, we're obtaining certificates of insurance for those monitoring companies, but no, that's not an issue.
We have a question here for background check firms, are healthcare employees an excluded class? I wasn't quite sure if we could have the person clarify that question. I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
I've got a question here. Are the programs available in New Jersey? Do you have monoline capability for work comp? Is the sample GL policy online? And is there a coverage comparison? Yes, we can write in New Jersey. We write in all states, including Puerto Rico at the moment. Monoline is not an issue. Obviously, we do like to work with all lines of business that we can help you with, and it's an advantage to streamline, in my opinion. There is a sample policy. I'd be happy to work with you, getting you all. If you contact us through Z Programs Match, I can start arranging that. And as far as coverage comparisons, this is a real sore subject for me just because I think too many brokers are quick to render legal advice of specific forms, which I don't like to do, but we are more than happy. We are very familiar with our competitors' forms, and we can provide some comparisons for you if that's what you're interested in. Next question asks about applications online. We do, you can obtain applications online. Fortunately, at the moment, we were having some issues with submissions through, so no online submissions at the moment. Again, you can get all that information, though, going through Z Programs Match.
Okay, Brian, we have the question clarified. You see that one? I have a background check company whose current insurer will not cover loss regarding background checks on home health care employees.
Okay. There's no limitation within our program or an exclusion, I'd like to say. So background checks aren't really an issue. Typically, from an underwriting standpoint, I would like to see the majority of their operations not be background checks, but again, if it's an established firm, and with a proven track record, we could definitely consider it, and we do not have an exclusion that would deny a loss regarding background checks.
Okay.
Here's one for, can you write executive protection with non-celebrities? That's really the goal of that business. It's not an issue. As we discussed earlier, really high-profile people and celebrities we try and stay away from, but several CEOs that require personal security, executive protection that we call, we do that all the time, and that's not an issue.
I think we've got covered most of the questions here. If there's anyone else on the line that wants to submit a question now, we'll give you a minute or so to do that. And then we will move to closing the call. So is that it for the questions, everyone?
I think so.
Okay. Well, we will now conclude that portion of the webinar, and we will document the responses to your submitted questions and post them in the Education Center real soon for your reference in the near future. Make sure to visit zprogramsmatch.com often for new program information, updates to existing Zurich programs, to request contact from program administrators, as well as access recorded versions of our Z Programs Match webinar series and related materials on the Education Center. As Eric said earlier, zprogramsmatch.com is free, and a quick online registration is all you need to gain access to more than 50 different Zurich programs. We certainly appreciate your business and your interest in our Z Programs Match webinar series. We look forward to serving you as we work together with our program administrators to provide for the insurance needs of our mutual customers. This concludes today's webinar. Thanks again for attending, and make it a great day.